I want to take this opportunity to invite an amazing friend of Joyvila and a great mentor and speaker from Unicef. So she will introduce herself.
Hi. Hi. My name is Cynthia Nafula Nyongesa. So I am 25 years old. I am a Kenyan. Nimekuja hapa kuongea na nyinyi, and this is an interactive session. Do not fear. Ask me any question. I was once your age, so I understand the kind of challenges that you guys are going through. So I will start by introducing where I come from, where I work, the things I do, and then my topic of the day will be about not worrying about the future and pursuing your right to education. So nani amesikia kitu inaitwa blog? Vlogger, YouTuber. A blog or a vlog basically is where you share information. Let me use the word information. When you're talking about a vlog, you type. For a vlog, you make videos. So for me, I have a platform. It's called CynthiaUNTAMED. So if you check on YouTube, you'll find it. If you Google CynthiaUNTAMED or CynthiaUNTAMED.com, you will find it. And this is a space for young people like you, like me, to express our voices, to talk about the issues we go through, for us to be inspired. We're building the current generation of leaders in Africa. So Untamed means young people like you who are resilient, very determined, very focused, nice people who are building this country and building this continent of ours called Africa. So that's what I do. I amplify stories like yours and mine, change makers in the community, right there. So you can check the YouTube channel or the blog. That's one. Two, I come from an organization called Unicef. Who has heard of Unicef? Yes? What do you know about Unicef? You've only seen it being written somewhere. So UNICEF in full means United Nations Children's Fund. And basically we work in the area of improving children's rights. You know what children's rights are? Give me examples. What right do you know? Rights to education, rights to security. So all those rights that you know, shelter, clothing, food, and I'm sure you guys have even interacted with UNICEF at some point in your lives. I'm sure nyinyi wote mshaipewa vaccination ya polio at some point. So UNICEF funds polio vaccines. That's just one of the things that we do. And there I work in advancing children's rights. I take pictures of children and the programs they're benefiting from, and I post them on our social media platforms. So if ever you access social media when you're older, just check out UNICEF Kenya. 3, I'm wearing a t-shirt written Generation Unlimited. And can you see the back? What does the back say? Our time, our turn, our future. So in short, Generation Unlimited is a partnership between United Nations, the governments, schools, many partners who are working to advance the rights of children and youth who are aged between 10 and 24. So you fall in that bracket. And let me just tell you a fun fact. Our president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is a champion for the young people's agenda. And what he does when he goes to New York, London, goes to Uganda, when he's working here in Kenya, he's always advancing the rights of children and young people through Generation Unlimited. So my role as a young person, because I have been 13, I have been 14, I'm now 25, I know what young people go through in this country. And I advise his office, the office of the president, on what issues we are going through and what areas they need to invest in. And you guys have talked about that, right to security, right to shelter. But personally, I am very passionate about the right to education. That is 3. 4, and lastly, there's an organization called the Global Partnership for Education, and that is specifically advancing the rights of children to access education. And when I'm there, I speak to global leaders and I tell them what kind of an education system works for us. Because I have gone through 844, I have done this system up to the university, I understand it well. I know the gaps, I know the opportunities. So I also advise the Office of the President in that area. So those are the 4 things that I do. And you can see that all that is in the area of children's rights. My background is in law. Wants to be a lawyer. Na nataka kuwa lawyer. Doctor, YouTuber, actor. What do you guys want to be? She wants to be a chef. Wonderful. Yes? An actress. Wow. A pilot. Engineer. A lawyer. A doctor. And you know, by the way, let me also tell you another fun fact. You may think you want to be a chef today, a doctor today. When you're much older, you might even change your mind. And it's okay to change your mind. Just because you're 13 and you've told the whole world you want to be a doctor, does not mean that when you're older you cannot be something else. You can be a journalist when you're older. You can be a musician when you're older. Do what your heart desires. Sawa? But for me, I studied law at the University of Nairobi. But right now, I'm also working in the area of communication, using law to advance the rights of children through communication. Yeah? So now let me get into the meat of my talk. When I was this age, I wish someone had come to our school and not just told me, you have to get 490 something so that you can be in the newspaper and then go to Alliance or Loreto Limuru or Limuru Girls or these big schools that you want to go to. I know you want to go to those schools, whichever school that is. I wish someone had told me. When I was this age, I was very bright. I'm still very bright. But when I was this age, I was really bright. I was extremely brilliant. I used to be number 1, 2, 3 in class. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But hiyo shule nilikuwa kulikuwa na competition. I'm sure hata pia hapa kuna competition. And I remember nikikuwa number 1 kwa exam. Si tulikuwa tunafanya exam weekly. Nikikuwa number 1 kwa hii exam, next week nisipokuwa number 1, I think I'm going to be a failure. I used to tell myself I'm going to be a failure because I was number 1 last time, and this time I am number 2, this time I am number 3. And there was a lot of pressure. I'm sure even where you're coming from, your parents, your teachers are telling you, usipotupatia mean score, umetumaliza, unatuletea aibu. I know some of them will tell you such things. I have been that age, so I understand. And if you don't face that kind of pressure, good for you. But I also want to tell you that pressure is normal, and it's not there to destroy you. It's there to build you. Because your parents and your teachers ultimately want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed. They want you to have a bright future. They want you to speak to presidents. They want you to travel to other countries, get scholarships, go to Harvard, go to wherever. They want you to be that. So do not worry. And I remember when I was this age, hata kupata 90% maths. 90% nilikuwa naona nimefail. And for me, when I was in class 7, class 8, the only thing I was worried about is going to a national school. Yani I was convinced nisipoenda national school, nisipokuwa number 1, nisipokuwa kwa gazeti, maisha yangu imeisha. And I was always worried about that. When I did KCPE, I scored 407 in a certain school in Gilgil. And I remember, hata sikukuwa one of the top kwa hiyo shule. Which means I was not even one of the top in the... Hiyo time tulikuanga na provinces, hatukuwa na counties. I was not even one of the top in the country. And I was called to a provincial school. I think right now they call them county schools if I'm not wrong. But I was not called to a national school. And I remember I was convinced I was going to be a failure. So in Form 1, I went to a provincial school. I went to a school in Naivasha called Naivasha Girls. Naivasha Girls Secondary School. And I remember from there on I was convinced I was never going to make it in life. You know, like your time kulikuwa na pressure. Kama ujaenda Alliance, ni shida. Watu wanakuambia you'll never make it. Anyway, to God's grace and thanking God, when I got to Form 1, I told myself I was going to work very hard so that somehow I could have an opportunity to transition to a national school. So vile nilikuwa Form 1 nikakuwa very focused, by the way. Very, very focused. And I got very good grades in Form 1. And luckily, I was able to go to Alliance later on because the principal Form 1 marks na kanipatia chance. So then I went to Alliance Girls High School when I was in Form 2. Now remember, I've told you that I was very bright, extremely bright. Nikafika Alliance, kila mtu ni mwerevu. Uko kila mtu ni mwerevu, hata mtu mwenye ni number last class bado pia amepita. Mtu ni number last na akona B+. Mtu ni number last na akona B, bado amepita. So nikafika huko na environment ikakuwa very difficult. Hiyo environment unajua kila mtu ni mwerevu, competition ikakuwa high. So first exam I think nilikuwa second last kwa class. Then from there on nilikuwa nafuata tu C-, C+, B-. The highest I think nilienda ni B-. Maths nikaanza kupata E. Wazazi wao wanasema nilikuwa nakuwa number 1 class. Mimi sikuwa nakuwa number 1 class kila wakati. So there was a time I was not doing well and I was very, very worried. Very worried. And at that point I started suffering from low self-esteem. Has anyone heard of something called low self-esteem? Low self-esteem basically ni mtu anaanza kusikia nikaa jipendi. Unaanza kujiuliza huku kwetu watu ni maskini. Hata ninakaa aje? Miguu zangu zinakaa aje? Nywele yangu inakaa aje? Huku kwetu hata wazazi wangu hawana smartphone. Then eventually inaanza kubuild up and you start hating yourself. So for me, that was my situation. And some teachers actually told me that I wasn't going to do well. But let me tell you what my turning point was, which is closely linked to the right to education and why you need to stop worrying so much about the future. When I was in Form 3, I had the opportunity to have a conversation na deputy principal wa hiyo shule, Alliance. Akanipatia kitabu kingine hapo inaitwa Life Journeys. So basically ilikuwa two stories about successful women in Kenya. And I started reading stories like theirs. Nikasema kama hao wamama walikuwa age yangu at some point na wali succeed, mbona mimi si succeed? So when I read that book, I got so inspired. And so I told myself I was going to focus on my right to education, on my right to do well in class. Because I had that opportunity to go to school. You have an opportunity to be here in class. So nikarudi back to basics. Nikaanza kurevise. Form 1 mathematics, Form 2 mathematics. Nikaanza from 0 mpaka mwisho. And eventually, vile nilifika Form 4 nilipata A-. So hapo ndio nikaingia University of Nairobi. Now, this is where now my life started changing. And that's why I keep telling you, focus on your right to education. Focus on being here in class and studying well. And don't worry so much about the future. Sasa vile nilifika university, ndio nikaanza hii CynthiaUNTAMED. Nilianza tu pole tu naandika story moja na post Facebook, story 2. But because of your initiative ya kuandika stories, nasema tu but then nilienda Dandora, there's this girl nilikutana na yeye, story yake ilini-inspire naandika story yake na post Facebook. Because of that, State House walini-identify. Wakanilipia ndege kwenda Mombasa. Nikaandika story about SGR. Si mnajua SGR? Yeah, so nilienda kuandika hiyo story. Wakati ilikuwa ndio walikuwa wanaanza kuijenga, nikaenda kuandika hiyo story. Alafu vile nilirudi Nairobi, wakani-invite State House. Na unajua iliniambia nini? That girl who was in class 7 so worried that juu amepata 90%, ule msichana alikuwa Form 3 juu amepata 0 maths, akifikiria atakuwa failure in future, angeweza kusonga mbele na aone kumbe anaweza kupanda ndege juu ya State House. Na hiyo ilikuwa tu ndege ya kwanza. Nimepanda ndege mara mingi zaidi. Nimeenda Amerika, nimeenda Germany, nimeenda Rwanda, Ethiopia, South Africa, nimeenda countries kadhaa sasa. Kama huyo msichana akikuwa hii age angeweza kuona Cynthia wa mbele na ajiambie, all I need to do is study. Study because now I have access to books. I have access to teachers. I have access to my parents. Study, 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 study. Ukifail, unarudi una revise. Ukimiss question, unainua mkono, unaambia mwalimu mimi sijaelewa, rudia. Take advantage even of the bright students in your class. Kuna wale tu, acha tu tuseme ukweli, kuna watu wakilala bado tu watakuwa number 1. Kuna kwanga nao watu wako very bright. Enda umuulize, hii Sam mtu anafanya aje? How do I do this? No. Those people, they will help you because some of you, I know they are very bright in terms of their academics. Then the other thing, always take initiative. And this is something that you need to learn very early in life. Ukikuwa hapa shule, wakiuliza nani anataka kuwa class prefect, hiyo mkono yako inafaa kuwa juu. Teachers wasipokuchagua ama your classmates wasipokuvotia, at the end of the day, umetake your initiative. Kama wanatafuta bell ringer, sijui mko na duties gani zingine huku, but najua bell ringer, head girl, class prefect, blackboard rubber, chalk keeper, hizo vitu, take initiative. Because in the end, they really help you. And where I am at Unicef, Office of the President, nimefika kwa sababu nilikuwa na take initiative. Especially vile niliingia campus, nilikuwa na take initiative. Naenda into the community. Vile nimekuja kuongelesha hivi, nilianza kitambo, nilianza nikikuwa first year. That was 5 years ago. Nilianza kuja kwa shule, hivi tu. And because kuna watu walikuwa wanaona hiyo consistency. Wananiita, Teacher Alvin akiniita hivi, kuna mtu mwingine anaona. Na milango inaendelea kufunguka. But at the end of the day, always remember that you as a child of Kenya, as a child who is loved by your parents and your teachers, the first opportunity you need to explore is your right to education. You need to study very hard. Go to a good school, study hard again, go to the university, study hard again. But always remember that your character defines you. You must be disciplined. You must be focused. You must be determined. And lastly, Mungu, the God you pray to, the religion you're in, whether you're a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, whichever place that you go to worship, believe in that God. Focus on that. Never, 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 ever stop believing in yourself. If I could look back at that girl who was your age, 13, 10, 15, I would never have imagined that she would be standing, speaking to children this age and telling them that they can be anything that you want to be. As long as you study hard, you can do it. Nani ako na swali?
I am Zaituni. In some societies, it's true to say that you are hated, but is it okay to try and fit in?
There's a challenge that we as young people face, and it is a challenge of trying to fit in. Now, fitting in is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on the society you're trying to fit in. So let me give an example of a good side and a bad side. So like a bad side, for example, you go wherever you live, you know maybe there are children your age who, maybe they're even using drugs. They're getting into bad behavior. Then they try to make fun of you so that you can think that you're doing something bad. Then because you're really trying to fit in, you want to be their friend, you change so that you can fit in. And because of that, it destroys your character. In the long run, it destroys who you are. And one thing I keep telling people, especially people this age, haujui mtu atakuwa nani kesho. Unaweza kuwa tu hapa unambuli 10 years from now unaenda interview, unapata yeye ndio interviewer. It can happen. So when it's a bad thing, always ask yourself, is it a good thing? Does it feel right? If anything feels wrong, whatever it is, it does not matter what it is, then you have to say no to it. Don't try to fit in. That's one side. The other side, sometimes you have to fit in so that you can interact better with people. So let me give an example. Where I work, there are people from all over the world. That's why it's called the United Nations. Me as a girl who is a Luya, when I go there, I cannot now say I just want to talk to Kenyans only. I'm not going to talk to people from America. I can't say that. I have to fit in, and I have to understand when a woman comes from Garissa, there's a culture that she has, and I need to understand who this person is in order for me to be a good employee, in order for me to continue advocating for the rights of children. I need to fit into that organization and be disciplined and work with the people who are there. So always look at it both sides. Is it a good thing? Does it help other people? Does it feel right? What benefit will I bring to my family? Even before you think about the whole of Kenya, think about your parents. Is that what they want for you? They want you to succeed. They want you to be great people. So always look at both sides.
Over many years, they have been imbalanced, especially in gender. The other day, we were complaining of girl child, girl child. Today, things seems as if the boy child has been now neglected. Now, as one who advocates for the children's right, how can we balance it so that we don't actually don't be harmful to the girl child when we are concentrating on the boy child, or the boy child when we are concentrating on the girl child? So my question is, how can we balance on how we treat the girl child and the boy child so that we don't have imbalanced?
So first things first, how I usually respond to that. What are you doing for the boy child? And you know what you're doing for the boy child, whether you're doing it or not. But I know you are doing something because you're already teaching boys here. You're teaching girls. What are you doing? Even if you're not a teacher, when you go into your community, when you're in your church or your mosque, do you talk to the boys who are there? Or do you just say, oh, wale wanasaidia wasichana, acha niende nyumbani nimekasirika. Instead of actually saying, wanaongea na wasichana, nani anaongea na wavulana? Wacha mimi nianzishe ka program, niko naongelesha wavulana. First, initiative. 2, understanding what the law says. I've already said a child is a child. When you go to the Constitution of Kenya, the Constitution defines a child who is, as anyone who is under 18. Number 3, it's not about us versus them, which is why I'm really talking about the aspect of personal responsibility. It's only because for a long time, you see, for a long time, girls and women were not being counted. And then also you find in a lot of cultures, girls are forced to marry early. Unajua kuna wasichana, they are 10, they are forced to marry men who are 50. When a girl gets pregnant, when she's 10, when she's 12, like right now, a lot of girls have gotten pregnant during COVID. Who is asking which boys made them pregnant? Nobody is asking. And you see, it's the girls who are missing out on education. And because for a long time, that is how society was, that's why people started championing for the rights of the girl child. But I keep saying, when you're championing for the rights of the girl child, you always need to remember that there is a boy. That's why we at Unicef, Generation Unlimited, me as CynthiaUNTAMED, anytime I go to a school, when there are boys and girls, I do not discriminate. Because for a boy to understand that his sister is important, he needs to be told. For a father to understand that his daughter needs to succeed, he also needs to understand the rights of the girl. And you can never exclude men from the conversation. I think what is also happening in our society is that a lot of men are staying away. And surprisingly, these men have wives. They have daughters, they have sisters, they have mothers. The men in our households need to be the ones saying, my daughter, my wife, my sister will succeed, and nobody is going to put them down. Nobody is going to beat them up. Nobody is going to marry them off to whoever they feel like. Nobody is going to sell them off. When you start from that level, you'll always remember that it's not an us versus them. When it's an us versus them, and that is something that has been there, it was always boys are against the girls. And that's why right now, as people advocate for girls, people start thinking, oh, now they've forgotten the boys. But I don't think so. I think the people who tend to believe that boys are being forgotten are not taking enough action for the boys in that community. So you need to take action for the boys in your community, because a child is a child no matter what. And lastly, it's also about understanding the trauma that is there, allowing boys to open up. I know when a girl cries, pole nyamaza, kila kitu kitakuwa sawa. Do you ever see your classmates who are boys crying for the girls? See? And they're just 13. And for the boys to understand that their emotions are important is something that needs to come from teachers like you. They need to understand that if they are bullied, they're not just supposed to go and say, mwanaume ni nguvu, au sijui atanga mwanaume ni kusurvive. Mwanaume ni effort. And that's why our boys are really suffering, because they're not speaking up. You as a boy, when you are a child, you have a right to speak up. And nobody should ever tell you that you cannot speak up. Jikaze kindume. I know that's what they say. But that's a whole conversation about masculinity. I just need for people to understand that it's okay if you see your brother crying. And for you as a boy, it's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. Si tukiona kitu fani ati mimi ni mwanaume siwezi cheka. Laugh. Enjoy life. You are a child. And as we keep going that way, you'll realize that boys and girls will now be at the same level. But there's also another thing. When you talk about equality, a boy can never be equal to a girl, and a girl cannot be equal to a boy. These are two words that people use interchangeably, but there's a difference between equality and equity. When you say equality, you're saying that she is equal to him. They are the same. When you're saying equity, it means that they are different, but they can still access the same opportunities. Let me give a very good example. If you have younger siblings, your father does not breastfeed babies. It is your mother. Yeah, you know that. You know that very, very well, right? So you cannot say that your father is equal to your mother. We're only saying that your father and your mother should be given the same opportunities to excel. But wherever there is a gap, they need to be enabled to access opportunities. For example, right now, in many schools, a lot of girls go to schools and they don't have sanitary towels. Boys and girls are not equal, but a boy will come to school, a girl will miss school because she does not have sanitary towels. For you to enable that girl to come to school, she needs to access those sanitary towels. So you see, there's a difference between equality and equity. I wish you the very, very best of luck and God's blessings.